Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Friday, September 23rd, and man, did we have a massive shift in the weather pattern up here. I checked this morning, water temperature was 68 degrees down at Belle Isle, which is where I give the relative water temp every fishing report. You're going to find probably cooler temps in the shallows, in and along the mile roads and stuff, but that's the main channel flow that goes down into the Detroit River down there by Belle Isle. Now, just checking it, I think I checked it yesterday before the cold front came through, and it was 71. So we dropped 3 degrees in 12 hours down there, which is pretty amazing. And it's going to continue to drop looking at the extended forecast. So shallows are even going to be cooler. But you're going to see that main channel temperature probably is not going to drop as fast, or at least up on that north end, it's probably not going to drop as fast because you've still got relatively warmer water going to be coming down. So that's going to be kind of the weird part at this time of the year, is that, once we get down to a certain point, the drop is going to stop down there, especially down at Belle Isle in that main channel flow, because that water up on Lake Huron is going to actually be relatively warmer if we get really cool down here on St. Clair, where the shallows will cool off more. So it's just one of those balancing things that happens this time of the year. But anyway, so we had a massive front come through, crazy high winds, and quite a bit of rain, actually, some pretty heavy rain for some short periods of time, which means you're going to be getting a lot of runoff from the rivers like the Clinton over on the American side and the Thames over there on the Canadian side, and then anything else that feeds into the lake. So you're going to be getting some mud lines forming out there. And you're going to be getting some dirty water probably coming down even from through the St. Clair River from the winds that we had. So I was trying to wait for a good satellite image before I did the report today, but didn't have one to show you. We should be able to get a clearer picture for you guys that know where to go out and look for those satellite images, because we get pretty clear skies out here right now. So hopefully you'll be able to get a good image later today. The winds have really laid down. They're supposed to continue to get less and less all day today, Friday. And then Saturday, we're supposed to have some decent weather, decent winds as well. So the weekend actually looks pretty good. It's just going to be a matter of you guys going out there and finding the right water clarity. And you may even find that some of the weed beds, after that wind that we had, some of the weed beds may be gone. Because generally what happens this time of the year, not generally, but always, is when we get the less light exposure for the weeds get weaker and weaker out there as your hours of daylight go down and the sun angles change, and you get these big storms that come in and blow, and it just tears these weed beds out. Some of them, especially the less healthy weed beds, get torn out, and generally what that does is the fish then lose cover, especially the bait fish. And with the dirty water, I kind of call it like the highway. Once we get that dirty water going, these deeper water fish a lot of times will just use that opportunity of the deep water to make big moves, and they'll transition and they'll go in shallower a lot of times. So that's always been my view of what happens. Plus, just you're going to have much nicer, cooler temps in shallow, and bait fish and the predator fish all respond to that. And then anyway, so point is, you're going to see a lot's probably changed out there when you go out. So you're going to have to adjust to the change as the fish are adjusting to the change as well. You still should find perch action out there by the channel. Not all of these fish are going to move and transition shallow, guys. Whether it's the winter time or the summertime or the springtime, you're always going to have a shallow bite and you're always going to have a deep bite. It just depends on which one's going to be the best with the most numbers of fish. So you're still going to have fish out there by the channel, 16 to 18 feet of water. As far as the perch goes, but there has been, it's been going for a couple of weeks at least, a good shallow water bite that's been going on in Fisher's Bay, up in Muscatmoot too, along the edges in the pencil reeds. But there's been fish out a little bit deeper too. But I mean, there's been a shallow bite like 2.5 feet of water, and I've talked to multiple people that have done it all up there around Fisher and Muscatmoot. So you can do that up there as well. But there's still going to be deep water bite. There should be fish down there by the 9 Mile area too, along the channel and in tighter. So that's going to be one of those areas you're definitely going to want to start checking in tighter and tighter. Usually the fish don't go super shallow until we get into October, but who the heck knows, especially when you get a major temperature change like this. It's all about where the bait fish are. So down there on that south end, talking 9 Mile 2, you're going to start wanting to check down there, down out in front of the yacht clubs for smallies. Muskie action should be heating up down there, and there should be walleye action down there, especially along the Delphine Channel. And we are getting reports that the walleye are already going down in the Detroit River. They got a pretty good bite going on down there, and the jig bite is picking up in the St. Clair River already as well. But again, with the big blow and the rain and everything, you're going to have to you might have to hunt to find the right water clarity in these areas right now until it settles down in a couple of days. But you know, you should be able to find decent conditions out there for whatever you're going after. Let's see. Decent reports of smallies between the Harley Ensign boat launch and the Metro Point there in like 10 to 12 feet of water. Should be the same action up there in Anchor Bay as well. They should be, and that bite's just going to pick up with the cooler temperatures. Mile Road, you should be checking out those shallower areas too. Start moving in a little bit, 10 to 12 foot of water down there. It would be worth a check right now. But until, you know, there hasn't been a lot of guys fishing this week, honestly. And with I expect a lot more guys out this week. You got a lot of guys that are really focusing on hunting now. So the reports get a lot tougher for us to give you like day by day info, just because the numbers of guys that are out there on the lake are less and less. And generally the guys that are fishing now are more secretive too, because they're more the hardcore anglers. So it's a little harder for us to get, you know, very precise information for you. So we will do our best to do that going forward. You know, just bear with us, as sometimes it's a little tougher to get information and things don't change as quick. So we may not be doing reports every single week. They may start to get, you know, every other week or so. I did want to mention though that they had the 8th annual North Channel Sturgeon Classic up on the St. Clair River, and they had 35 teams that entered, and I know they took over 125 fish for those 35 teams, and the 3 winning fish were all over 70 inches. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, those are huge sturgeon, over 70-inch fish, and I think that was over like 73 for the biggest fish that was landed. So that's amazing. That's such a unique fishery up there on the St. Clair River. We follow a lot of our guides out there. I know Garrett Samsel's still been catching walleyes up there, and like I said, that bite is definitely picked up there already. That more and more guys are back out jigging again. So you know, there's just about everything up on that north end. You can. I mean, just about all over the lake right now. This fall bite is really going to just kick in to high gear for everything, for smallies, for perch, for the muskies, and for the walleyes. It's kind of like the reverse of the spring, right? So as water temperatures drop, everything picks back up. Sometimes not quite as easy to find the fish as it is in the spring, because it's really a feeding based you know, location now, as opposed to when those fish are in spawning. So you really got to find the bait fish. You can start watching for the birds again. I know Garrett Samsel even mentioned they got into some schools of white bass up on that north end. And this time of the year, it doesn't hurt to look for birds, and don't assume that just because you see birds out there on the main part of the lake that you've got a school of white bass. I've gone out there before and seen schools of big smallmouth blowing the bait fish up to the top. Same thing with walleyes. Not quite so much with perch, but definitely with the walleyes and smallmouth bass schools out there. They'll push those fish up, and then the birds come down on top. So this time of the year, start paying attention to those birds again out there. With a lot lighter boat traffic, you'll find that you can do that out there much easier this time of the year, because the birds aren't getting pushed off of those schools of bait fish so much with all the boat activity. So I guess that's maybe one of my tips for going forward here into the fall, is watch for those birds, just like if you're a white bass fisherman in the spring, watching for the birds out there on the lake. That's about all I've got for this week. We will see you in at the store. We got a lot of ice fishing tackle that's in there right now and coming in. So if there's stuff you missed out on last year, would be a good time to check it out now, because inventories are going to be a little bit weird again this year, I'm sure, going forward. So with that, get out, enjoy the cooler temps this weekend, and we'll see you in at the stores. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.